Mr. Chairman, there are really two issues that are before us. One is the judicial issue over the role of the court in our constitutional framework, which we should be defending, and the policy question of abortion, which we should be debating. I think it's all right to vigorously debate or protest a Supreme Court decision. I think it's all right to change laws or amend the Constitution in response to a Supreme Court decision. But it is not all right to intimidate the justices during their deliberations. The judiciary is supposed to be focused on the law and the Constitution. It's the one branch of government that's insulated from politics and political pressures for that very reason. You know, justice is often depicted as blindfolded because it's supposed to take no note of the politics or personalities before them or the favoritism or bias that's attached to them. One exception in that depiction, by the way, can be found in our old Supreme Court chamber in the Capitol. Justice is not blindfolded when she's looking to the Constitution. The Supreme Court fulfills this function by an extensive process of exchanging arguments and testing various reasons and opinions among the 9 justices in the sanctity and security of knowing that as they hone and form and modify and perfect their positions, that process will remain confidential so they can feel free to alter their opinions as facts and reason dictates. This process is essential to the role of the court. The unprecedented breach of that confidentiality by the leaking of a draft opinion is catastrophic to that process. For the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee to minimize this development as a distraction, I personally find appalling and alarming. It is, I'm afraid, a very dangerous milestone in the left's attacks on our Constitution and its fundamental institutions. There's no blinking at the fact that the Supreme Court is under sustained attack by the left. They've refused to protect the deliberations of the court from political pressure and influence. Indeed, they've launched a concerted effort to apply political pressure by threats such as those as we heard from Senator Schumer recently, by intimidation, such as assembling mobs in front of justices' homes, and refusing to prosecute those crimes under our law, and by using the legislative branch to attack a draft opinion while it's being considered by the court, along with explicit threats to pack the court if they don't get their way. That is the judicial crisis that we face, and the Judiciary Committee not only is not standing in defense of our judiciary, it's leading the attacks. You know, conservatives for 50 years have abhorred the Roe decision, but we've never employed such tactics as we see from the left today. Now, if the Dobbs draft becomes the decision of the court, the decision over abortion becomes a policy matter again that rightly belongs to the people through their elected representatives here in this branch, or more precisely, the legislative branches of the 50 states. This debate is appropriate in this body, before this committee, and by the way, that's all the Dobbs decision says. You know, I agree with the chairman that the decision to become a parent is a uniquely personal one, which the government has no right to intrude upon. But the fine point of the question is, when does one become a parent? And that's really the center of this debate. Ms. Arambidi, you said that, it really struck home to me, you said that you trust people to decide what to do with their own bodies. Is that an accurate depiction of what you said?
Yes.
I'd go a step further. I'd say that nobody has a right to tell you what to do with your own body. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay, well, then we have a perfect agreement on that. But before we go on, I also have to ask the question, if this is solely about your body, does this process stop your heart from beating? Does it suck your brains out of your skull? Does it tear your limbs from your body? And if you can't answer that question, then we have to entertain the possibility that maybe we're talking about another human being as well who has rights that have to be balanced through the laws that need to be talked about in forums like this, forums that represent all the people, which is precisely where the Dobbs draft would place that decision. Ms. Foster, as a society, we've got a clear consensus that if a human being has a brain wave and a heartbeat, they have an indisputable right to life. They cannot be legally harmed.
The time of the gentleman has expired.
Let me just ask, is that a standard we should be, that is a standard we apply to the end of life. Is that also a standard we should apply to the beginning of life?
It absolutely is, yes.
Thank you.
The